Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books. Okay, so it's October 1st. Woo! Happy Halloween. I'm so excited. Okay, so if you've been following my channel for the last, I don't know, whenever, you've heard me talk on there. I cannot figure out like if I like this like buttoned all the way up or like unbuttoned a little bit. It's like so uncomfortable if I button it all the way up, so. I'm not trying to be all Rico Suave, but there we go. Anyway, I am doing two group reads for the month of October. I'm very, very excited about them. The first one is, and I just actually started this outside, The Library of Souls by Richard Denny, who is also Richard's Book Nook, the booktuber. So please go check it out. It's available on Amazon and probably everywhere else. So anyway, I literally just started it. I'm on page 8 right now. So that's the first group read that we're gonna do. And then the second one, are you so excited, is Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders. And as you can see, I already have, well, I have half of it like tabbed because I'm doing 21 pages a day, something like that. So I just like tabbed it off at like 21, 21, 21, 21. And I can just take it off and then I know where I'm at. If I get really into it, then it won't really matter. But I wanted to do that so I wouldn't get like super behind reading it. So if you've never read Helter Skelter before, or if you've read it before and you want to be truly scared again, then yeah, you should read this with us. If I finish this, or if I get really into it, somebody else recommended Anne Rule's The Stranger Beside Me. So I think I may try that one too. I've never read an Anne Rule book and I love true crime. So yeah, if I get through this, I may do that one next. Or I might do it for November, so. I mean, it's always, anytime is a good time to be scared, right? Now, what you've all been waiting for. Okay. The envelope, please. Okay, thank you. My wrap up for September. My September wrap up, I'm so excited. My last couple wrap up videos have been so boring because I've like read 1 or 2 books a month. And when I started this month, I was like 20 something for the year. And I had set my goal on Goodreads. If you don't follow me on Goodreads, please go follow me on Goodreads. I accept everybody's friendship, and I love to like look through and see what everybody's reading and wanting to read and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, I was at like 28 or 29. I don't know. You guys can do the math. I'm like at 39 or 40 now, I think. But anyway, so I would have been at 28 when I started. My goal for the year was 100. I'm nowhere near that. But for the month of September, are you ready? Drum roll, please. I read 11 books. I'm so excited. Well, some of them were finishes ups of other books that I have been reading for like 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever. But I'm absolutely caught up on everything now. So going into October, there were like 3 books that I had been reading that I kind of put back on the shelf. 2 of them are library books, so I'm just going to return them and let other people. It was a Jeff Zentner book and a Jerry Spinelli book, but I'll get those for November. And then the third one is The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel, and I'm going to read that, but it'll have to be in November because I want to read like a really scary book for this month. So going into October right now, I don't have anything like on my shelf except for these 2 books and Rotten Ruin, because I'm reading Rotten Ruin on my Kindle, and then I'm reading on my Audible, or listening on my Audible, to The Silent Child by, let's see who it's by, Sarah Denzel, and it is about a child that goes missing, and 10 years later he comes back, and y'all know I love a good kidnapping story. Okay, so let's get right into what did Peter read for the month of September, because it's like so diverse what I read, it's crazy. Okay, the very first book that I read, and this was actually when we were coming back from Miami. I started it at the airport in Miami, and I finished it, I don't know, like a day or 2 after we got back, and that was The Late Show by Michael Connelly. So Michael Connelly is one of these thriller suspense writers, very much, you know, like David Baldacci, James Patterson. He wrote the whole Harry Botch series. I really like him, but I will tell you that my very favorite book of his is called Void Moon. And the reason I like it is because it's not a Harry Bosch movie, or movie. There's movies too, like The Lincoln Lawyer with Matthew McConaughey. But it's because it's about a different character, and I got really tired of reading the Harry Bosch books after a while. I know some people love them, but I got really tired of them. Now this is about an absolutely new detective who works the late shift, like the midnight shift, in Hollywood. And it's prostitutes and all this kind of stuff and murders, and it's very, very good. I was really impressed with it. So it felt like old Michael Connelly, but like a new storyline. So if you like him or you like that kind of vein, I think it's a good mystery thriller. Go check it out, but read it late at night because that's when it should be read. The next book that I read, and a lot of these I listened to on Audible, so I listened to so much Audible in September. The next one was Openly Straight by Bill Konigsberg, and this had been like on a list of like the top LGBTYA books out there right now. I think it was like 3rd or 4th. And I had seen a lot of it, but I hadn't like ever like wanted to read it. To be honest with you, there was something about the title that I just didn't like. I don't know. It's like, here, you guys want to see the cover of it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. The cover's cute. It's just nothing special. I don't know. It just didn't pull me in as making me want to read it. And I tweeted something out about it, and a couple people tweeted me back and were like, oh, it was really good. So it's about this kid that's openly gay, came out when he was 12. His parents are like totally liberal, live in Colorado. They're super supportive of him being gay. Mom's like president of PFLAG, all this kind of stuff. I'm not ruining anything for you. No spoilers in this whole video, okay? And then he decides that he wants to go to this boys' boarding school out east. And as soon as he gets there, like, he just kind of like wants to reinvent himself, and he doesn't want to be out because he wants to know what it feels like to just be like, nobody really know what your sexuality is. And so it's really this journey back into the closet, so to speak, but he learns a lot about himself at the same time. Very, very well done. There's a sequel to it. I haven't read it yet. I think it's a companion book, actually, which is like the other person's side story to it. I don't love those companion books. It's like when David Levithan did, you know, the 2 books where one was, I can't even remember what they're called. And they're making one into a movie. And I'm just like, do we even need that? Seriously. So, Openly Straight by Bill Konigsberg, I gave 5 stars. Michael Connelly's, I gave 4 stars. Now, Openly Straight, I don't know. I probably would give it like a 92%. I mean, it was really a good, fast read, but it wasn't like phenomenal literature. The Late Show, I would probably give it an 84% too. So, okay. And then the next one, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, was actually a buddy reads that I did with Tom at Tom Talks Books. And we both really, really liked it and just tore through it. It was not what I thought it would be at all. It was, I would call it new age, not new age, new adult. It's more new adult than it is young adult. There's a little bit more sexuality to it. There's drinking, things like that in it. But it's definitely an adventure story if you like that kind of stuff. And it takes place like, I don't know, before the turn of the century, not this century, last. And so it's very, very, it's well researched and it's well done, and I was really impressed with it. The main character's name is Monty, and he's very funny, but he doesn't take anything seriously until it's kind of forced on him to be taken seriously. He's in love with his best friend. You learn that right out of the gate. It deals a lot in there with racism, homophobia, you know, misunderstood issues about sexuality, what is love, all this kind of, the meaning of life, all of this. So it's very, very well done. I was super impressed. I think it's Mackenzie Lee's first book. Can't wait to see more. And I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars because what happened to me in September was I was reading so much and I was giving all these books like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. But I would probably give that an 89 or a 90%. There were some things that I would have liked to have been different, but it was really, really well done. Okay, then I finished Summer Days and Summer Nights, 12 Love Stories, which is the second part of the second anthology by Stephanie Perkins. I just realized I read 2 things by Stephanie Perkins this month. And the first one was called My True Love Gave to Me, which was the holiday stories. I loved that. Summer Days and Summer Nights was okay. I did kind of a full review on here. If you go back a couple videos, I talked about it. It was not, for me, like the greatest book I've ever read. I have to be honest with you. The short stories were so long. They were so dragged out. There were only like 5 or 6 in the whole book that I really, really liked. The other half, I could have totally done without. So the first or second one is a Leigh Bardugo short story, and it takes place like in this small like beach town. That was hands down my favorite in the whole thing. And the other one was it's called Last Night at the Synagogue. I can't remember who wrote that one. Oh, I have it right here. I should be showing these books, shouldn't I? Summer Days and Summer Nights. So my 2 favorite stories in here was Head, Scales, Tongue, and Tail. That's the first story, and that's by Leigh Bardugo. And then the other one that I loved in here was The Last Stand at the Synagogue by Libba Bray. It was fantastic. Stephanie Perkins finishes up like her story from the first one. So if you loved that storyline in the first one, you'll love the storyline in this one. And then the book ends with a short story by Lev Grossman called The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. And I really like that short story as well. But the rest of them, I could just take them or leave them. I mean, they weren't that great. But the cover is, I mean, can we talk about this cover for a second? It's absolutely beautiful, right? Okay, so let's see. The next book is No Sanctuary by Richard Lehman. Now, I have talked Richard Lehman up like tons on my channel, right? He's my absolutely number one favorite, absolute favorite number one horror novelist of all time. And he passed away several years ago. He left in his legacy, you know, I don't know, 50 novels or something. I've read probably half of them. I thought I had read almost all of them, but every day I go to the bookstore or I look online, I find a new one of his I haven't read. No Sanctuary is two stories that take place at the same time and verge together at the end. And he does it in such a genius way. I was so impressed with it. Because even though he writes total gore, at the same time, he like really understands people. And it's very uncomfortable at times to read because it's some of it is very sexual. So if you're 12, this probably isn't the book for you. But I mean, it's like, it can be kind of like grossly sexual a little bit, but like it kind of goes along with the writing, if that makes sense. And he's very good at making the reader uncomfortable just on all levels. So this book is split into two things. The first part of it is about this woman who, for fun, she like stalks out people's houses and she like finds out like where people are when they're going on vacation, and then she goes and stays in their house. That's all I'll say, okay? Because it is genius how he does it. And then the second half, of course she goes into the wrong house, right? And then the second part of it is about this couple that are kind of like on the verge of like, are they gonna stay together, are they not? And she like is obsessed with like camping, so they go into the mountains to go camping, and he can't stand camping because of something that happened to him as a child. And it's how these stories come together, and it is fantastic. So I was really impressed with No Sanctuary. I'm never let down by his books. I gave it 4 stars because, I mean, it's not a great piece of literature, but it is a really good read. And if you want something scary to read this month, read Richard Lehman, No Sanctuary, the one with darkness in the title, Darkness, Call My Name, or something like that about the librarian. That's like one of my all-time favorites of his. And Endless Night, I love by him. So, all right. Whew. Winded, baby. The next book is my second favorite book of the year. And it's kind of like unfair. It's like, you know when like Titanic should win everything, but it's up next to something that's just so phenomenal. It's like, you know, Dark Horse Running kind of thing. I mean, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, hands down. I don't think there will be anything. Phenomenal would have to come out in the next couple months to top that book for me. I just think it's such a pivotal book, you know, at our time, and I think it's so profound, and I think it's just so well done. So, putting that aside, other than The Hate You Give, my number one all-time favorite new book, are you ready? Francesca and Her Monsters by, Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. And I'm so excited to finally finish this and read this. Now, I will tell you, I really struggle with the first 100 pages. If I hadn't said I was going to read this, I would have DNF'd it. At 100 pages, this book picks up. It like nobody's business. Climaxes and I mean, it's so well done. It's so well done. She lives in Indianapolis where I live. I have this desire that we're going to end up becoming best friends and write books together. That's my dream. She even actually tweeted me. And I almost went to Barnes & Noble last weekend because she was doing like a book signing and a panel. I cannot say enough about this book. It is so creative. It is so well done. It is like split up into 4 different ways of telling the story. I just totally fell in love with Eliza and Wallace, who's the male, you know, partner to her in this book, and the whole family and all this kind of stuff. I do not want to spoil it for you. It is so well done, and it goes in directions that you don't even expect coming. So, yeah. If I had sat down and like gotten through the first 100 pages, I would have finished this whole book in like 2 days. It was that fantastic. All right, let's go on. Woo, we got some more books to do. What did I read next? Okay, so the next book, I gave Eliza and Her Monsters 5 stars, and I would probably give it a 98 or 99%. I mean, I don't even know what 100% would be at this point. So the next book that I read was Windfall by Jennifer Smith. I was really, really excited about reading this book, you guys, okay? Because I had seen the cover. I had heard so many good things about Jennifer Smith because she wrote The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. This will probably be the last book I read by Jennifer Smith. I was not super impressed with it. I thought there were pieces that were so defined specifically that really were wonderful, and then other pieces that were so vague it didn't even make sense. She seemed to get bored of her own characters in the book. The book went on way too long. It went on it was much longer than it ever needed to go. Now let me tell you what's interesting about this book, okay? So here's this book, and then in Summer Days and Summer Nights, she writes a short story that is called, hold on a second, I just finished it. 1,000 Ways This All Could Go Wrong, which is interesting because she kind of brings up something in this book that I'm surprised she isn't being criticized more for, how she handled it. There was almost the identical scene in this book as there is in the short story. I was like, okay, so you are such a renowned young adult author that you're being asked to be in this anthology, and yet you write the exact same scene almost in this book. You're like, that's where you're the same place and everything, right? I was like, no. So the other thing about this is it's really interesting. It's about a lottery, I will tell you that. And there's like this major like philosophical question in it about the main character. What's interesting is I really did not buy into what her choices in the book, okay? Until I had a conversation with my best friend and I said, let me ask you this question, right? And so I asked her the question that is posed to the main character in this book the whole time, and she agreed with the main character. So, I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, we see things differently in the world. I don't know. You might read it and love it. There were pieces of it that I absolutely loved. The families, the friendships, I loved. The storyline, it was boring. I could have done without it. It was just a trite lottery story as far as I was concerned. Okay, the next book that I read was Emily Friedland's History of Wolves. It's on the Man Booker Prize for 2017 shortlist, so it's one of 5 books that could win. I'm hearing that Autumn is probably going to win. But anyway, I was so impressed with this book. It was so fantastic. And I don't even know like what things to say about it. It was so fantastic. It is about a girl that lives on like a retired hippie commune with her mom and dad. Everybody else has left. And she's very awkward and kind of weird. And she kind of develops this, I don't know if I would say like a romantic love interest, but like love interest with this family across the lake. And then but it's a thriller, so I don't want to tell you what it's about because it goes in a direction that I never expected. I mean, there are philosophical, religious, spiritual overtones to this book, questions that are asked. And what's really interesting is that I think the overall question it asks is, are we the same person fundamentally at 14 that we are at 40? And it's done in such a way that, I mean, I just want to tell you, I walked away from this book and I was blown away. She could describe a button like, I mean, you would read it and be like, oh my God, I never even thought of it that way, right? I mean, her descriptions are so unbelievable. So definitely go check out The History of Wolves by Emily Friedland. And then the next, oh my God, I still have 3. The next book I read was the Book of David. I finished this last night. It's very much in the tone of Go Ask Alice. See, it's a diary kind of thing. Anyway, and it's about this guy named David. He's a football star in high school, and I mean, I'm not going to ruin it. This won't ruin it for you in the first couple pages, but he's gay, or he thinks he might be gay. He doesn't know. I don't know. It's one of those, you know. I ended up giving this 4 stars. It was such a great read, you guys. Like, I tore right through this. I actually read this book in, it says 8 days, but I really just sat down in like 2 days and read it. It's really a quick read, and probably, I think, one of the best LGBTYA fiction out there right now. The pieces of fiction out there right now was so well done. So go check it out. And I had never heard of it before, so. All right, then the last 2 are audiobooks. The next one is The Spy. I can never pronounce this author's name. Paulo Coelho, and he's the one that wrote The Alchemist. This is the story of Mata Hari, based on facts, but it's supposedly like a letter that she wrote describing her life. I I had no idea what to expect when I read this book. It is done so fantastically. It is really about what it means to be a woman, what it meant to be a woman at that time, and really it kind of poses a question as like, have things changed? Like, are women, you know, are they perceived as different today? Do we still have some of the same stigmas and stereotypes that we had back then? The turn of, the, you know, like at 1900s, like 1915, things like that. And through it all, I mean, you know, it very much questions, you know, sexual behavior, you know, sexual fluidity, gender fluid. I mean, it's so interesting what he does with this book. And yet, really, at the end, what you realize is, and this is not a spoiler, that Mata Hari's #1 crime was being born a woman at the wrong time. And I think it really is an interesting book from a political point of view. I will say that when you read about how people are used politically, and it's really the author's commentary, I think, on where we're at today and using Mata Hari as an example of that. And it is, I mean to tell you, fantastic. So please go check that book out. It's like on Audible, it's like 3 hours and 50 minutes. And then the last book that I read, are you ready, is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Okay, I tweeted out such shit about this book. I ended up giving this book, okay, well, The Spy I gave 5 stars to. I probably give it a 95. There's Someone in Your House I gave 4 stars to, and I probably give it an 89. Okay, but let me tell you this. When I started this book, I was so bored with this book. Okay, I thought, oh my God, this is like another trite version of Scream. It's so poorly done. It's not even as good as a Lois Duncan book. The characters are so stereotypical. There's one from every clique. There's one from every group. And then somebody commented and said like that they had met her and that was what she intended. So I went in, I read this interview by her, and she did say that. So I was like, okay, give the gal a chance. Let's see. I liked her short stories in those books. So I ended up reading it. Well, I'll tell you what happened is I was so bored with it and I was so ready for a scary novel. But right at the 50% mark, I became obsessed. I mean, obsessed with this book. It got so good and so gory and so scary. There is something that the murderer does in this book that like you will never not think of again. Like the murderer does something in the book to like scare the people like moments before they're killed, and it is so genius. Like I literally, since I stopped reading this book, like I'm constantly like this. I mean, it's well done. I was impressed. So do I think it's the greatest piece of literature in the world? No. Do I think that she achieved a very fun, scary novel? Absolutely. And I definitely would suggest it for a Halloween read, for a scarier read. It was fun. It was like watching a fun horror movie like Scream with your friends. It was very well done. I think that what she wanted to achieve, she achieved well. So anyway, whew. That's what I have read for the month of September. I'm done now. I'm done. All right, you guys, I will see you tomorrow, and we will start talking about the scary books of October. I love you. Bye.